Yo guys, so welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are doing fantastic as usual. So we're back with this to-do application that we are creating together, and in the last two episodes we were looking a bit at how to style our application. So like I mentioned, it's kind of important that we also think a bit about how we want our application to look so that it doesn't look way too bad, because who wants to use it then? Do you want to use it yourself? Well, maybe you're the biggest fan ever of the default styling of an HTML page, maybe that's your thing. So I shall not judge. You style it completely as you want, of course. So in this episode, we are going to be looking a bit at separating the completed tasks from the active task, the task that we are still doing. So we're gonna be looking a bit at how we can separate these two to make it a bit more clear for the user whatever is completed. So currently we have something like this, you can complete tasks like this, you can click these buttons. Oh, actually, I don't think the line through is working anymore, so I'm not sure what that is about. Let's see. So, it doesn't seem like it has a class, or it doesn't seem like it has a style at least. Let's see here. Maybe I forgot something. Let's see if we broke something perhaps when we introduced these CSS frameworks. So maybe I actually never implemented that. So maybe that's just from my dreams. So what I mean here is that I actually want to have a line through the items that have been completed. But it seems that I never implemented that, in fact. So why not do that? Why not do that? Why not complete that completion functionality? So I guess I can show you guys this. So there's actually something called conditional classes in Svelte, or that's at least what I like to call them. So you toggle a class based on a condition. So if this condition is true, you want to have this class, and only then will that class be applied. So that is super useful when you want to have custom styling based on some condition from a variable or something. So what I'm going to be using now, well, since we have a Tailwind, you can actually use their line through. So now that we have Tailwind CSS, we can kind of just use their classes. So that is one of the most amazing things with Tailwind CSS, that it works that amazing with these conditional classes, because we don't have to create a new class for, if we only want to have like a line through class, then Tailwind, I'm almost certain, has one. So let's see, line through, text decoration. Yeah, so you can see here we have a line through class. So we want to apply this class whenever a task has been completed. So how do you do this in Svelte? Well, it's super intuitive as usual. So you do class, this is the class directive. So you put a colon here, and then you specify the name of the class that you want to apply. So in our case, it's line through. So let's copy that. So we want line through to be active whenever the task has been completed. So we do that, something like that. And we can see that it worked right away with our amazing Vite development server. So you can see now whenever I uncheck this, it will no longer be line through. So now we implemented that, and how long did that take? I guess 2 minutes or something. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is that I feel super productive with Tailwind CSS, and I think I'm gonna be using it for the remainder of this series, I think, unless something else shows up and changes the game, I guess. So I'm gonna be using Tailwind CSS. So I think I'm actually gonna be uninstalling Flowbyte, but feel free to use that if you felt like it suited your needs. So I'm just gonna be uninstalling that right now. So let's just do something like npm remove Flowbyte Svelte, I think. I'm not sure if this removes all of the other dependencies. I guess not, but maybe there is some command for that. I'm not really, I think I forgot about that, but whatever. I just uninstalled Flowbyte and Flowbyte Svelte. Now we actually want to remove our references here to Flowbyte Svelte. So we're going to be using our custom component that we created in our previous episode, which I'm kind of proud of. So it's always, for me, it's really fun to create my own components. But if you feel like you don't have the time to do that, then of course you can use a CSS or components framework, component library like Flowbyte. So let's just comment that back in here. So let's see if our beloved custom modal here is, yeah, there we go. So now we have our amazing buttons as well. I don't think there's any more Flowbyte anywhere. Maybe there is though, I'm not sure. And let's see here, I don't think so. So that is probably it. Now I eradicated Flowbytes. So now we're just rolling with Tailwind CSS. Now, like I said, I think we actually want to separate these completed tasks from the rest. So it can kind of get cluttered here, especially since we don't have any kind of ordering here. We could definitely order it, so I guess we can try to do that right away to show that this is possible. So this is one of the options that you might want to have. So you can just order them. So I guess we want to have the tasks that are active, that are not completed first. So that we focus on the tasks that we have remaining and not those tasks that we have already completed. So we can just go to to-do items.svelte here and see if we can do something with this. So I think we actually want to have some kind of reactive syntax here. So like we learned in one of the previous episodes, we use this $sign and a colon. So this will actually give us some reactivity based on when a variable changes. So I think we can actually do something like items here equals items dot sort, I guess. So we want to sort this array based on if it's completed or not. So I think we can do something like BA. I don't know this from the top of my head, but I guess we can do something like B dot completed minus A dot completed. So yeah, I'm not really sure if that's gonna work out. Let's see if that works. So yeah, so it actually seemed to work. So let's see if that actually works. So if I uncheck this here, we can see that it is being removed and actually placed in the top there. So this might be a bit confusing. I feel like this is kind of a weird user experience where you click this item and it just pops up somewhere else in the list, but feel free to use this if you felt like it was useful. So the only thing I'm really doing here is using this reactive syntax. So whenever the items variable changes, that's the only variable that we are kind of referencing in this expression. So whenever that variable changes, then we want to reassign it. So just like I said, it's important that we are reassigning things when it comes to Svelte if we want things to be reactive. So whenever this items changes, we actually sort this, and we sort it based on if it has been completed or not. So this, I think this expects you to return 0. So it's expected to return a negative value if the first argument is less than the second argument. So in our case, I think this is like implicitly converted to integers. So this will become 1. I guess if this is true, if this is completed, then this will be 1. And then this will be 0, I assume. So then it will work out. And if this is 1 and that is 0, then this will be -1. And that's how it works, kind of. But that was kind of from the top of my head. So feel free to learn more about sorting by Googling or something if you feel like you don't really know about that. So there we got some basic sorting functionality implemented. But like I said, I kind of want to separate these. So I kind of want to have them in their own list if they have been completed. So this will actually become really difficult because we have this each statement here. We want to loop over some items here based on a condition. So we only want to loop over those that have been completed. The real issue here, it's really an issue, but it's more of a clean code kind of thing. So the problem here is that it's gonna cause a lot of code duplication here, because how are we gonna do this? So we have to have 2 each statements here, unless maybe we actually could create like 1 each statement. This gets really interesting. So I'm not really sure if you can do nested each loops in Svelte. Let's Google that. Nested each statement. So let's see here. Svelte each function in nested bind group on nested loop. So I guess it's a possible thing to have nested loops. That would be kind of cool. So the issue I'm having here, we could do something like this. We could copy this each statement, have another divider, I guess, that we just have. So this is kind of what I mean, but instead we will just each on completed task or we each on active tasks. So that would of course work, but we get some really nasty code duplication here because we have these event dispatchers. We have these event handlers here. So we have on edit, on delete, and on title change, on completed change. So we need to bind these. We need to set these on the component. But how are we going to do that if we have 2 each statements? Because then we have to, make sure to keep track and update them. And I feel like that is super bad. I really feel like this is considered bad practice. But perhaps we could actually do like a nested each statement. So we could have like 1 each statement that generates another div and just have the same code run within there. So I'm not really sure. This is really interesting. I've never tried this before in Svelte, so we are learning together here. So what I'm thinking is maybe we could have like 1 each statement that contains the array that we want to loop over, and then we have another one that just loops over that array. So let's try to do something like that. So let's create a new dummy array here. So let lists, I guess. So we want to have one list with items, and then let's just add another with the same and see if that works. So we want to have something like lists, and then of course we need to remember to have some sort of keyed each statement here, but yeah, so I don't think we can really do that here. I'm not really sure. Let's just skip that keyed each statement for now and see if it actually works. So let's do something lists as list, and then we want to each over that list here and see if that works. Does that work? No, it does not seem to work. Okay, so I guess this is because we are not actually modifying this lists array whenever this whenever an item is added or something like that. So that is really interesting. So maybe we can do some reactive syntax for this. So get lists for items. So this is where we could like return something like, well, I guess we can do this right now. Why not try it out? So items filter item completed, and so we do items filter item completed, and we want to have another array which is not completed, I guess. So let's try that reactive syntax again, if we can do something like that. So it should be lists is get lists items. So then we have to define that variable as well. So let's see if that works. Yeah, so there we go. Actually, does that work? SDSF. Wow. I'm actually shocked here. This is actually more than I thought was possible with Svelte, but this is actually really amazing. So now we only have one each statement here. Well, we have two each statements, but we only have to keep track of one where we actually rendered it to do items. But with this, I feel like it could actually be a bit inefficient, I guess. It's also a matter of, is this too inefficient? So how many times does this actually run? Let's just do some console logging here and see when this is run. So I'm no Svelte expert. I don't know all of the internals of Svelte here. So this is kind of like an experiment to see if this is sensible or if we're really doing loads and loads of filtering and loops. So what happens when I save an item? Then of course we run that. And when I uncheck, then of course it runs. So it runs quite often, just because this items array changes quite a lot, you know, so whenever we save or delete or anything. But that is kind of what we want. We want it to be reactive, of course. We want it to react to these changes, but not 100% sure if this is the best way to do this. But, you know, the other alternative would be to have two each statements. So we do need to filter it whenever it changes. This is kind of a matter of, do you want to add like built-in events to only update this lists array whenever something changes? So you could do something like, whenever you delete it, then you call some function to, whenever you check the completed flag here, if that is changed, then you want to, you know, re-render or recalculate, refilter them. But I feel like this is not super inefficient. This is a matter of nanoseconds anyways. You know, if we had like a million items here, then of course it would be kind of inefficient, you know. But I feel like, you know, we get really not super readable code, but kind of readable, kind of maintainable code, you know. It works just amazingly. It worked better than I thought. So it's kind of a matter of a balancing act here. Do we want to keep this code maintainable, or do we want to add like 50 lines of other code to only update this array whenever something, you know, useful changes? So I mean, maybe in the future, if we start changing these arrays a lot, if we start doing some modification to this items array a lot, then of course we would be filtering a lot unnecessarily. So we only really want to filter whenever you add a new item or whenever you change the checkbox here. That's the only reactivity that we want to have. But you know, for now, I think this is a good showcase of how powerful Svelte is, and that it just works in the most amazing ways possible. So if you didn't understand completely what I did here, this is just using our reactive syntax again. But this time, whenever this items array changes, so we have this variable. Whenever you use like a variable within this expression, you tell Svelte that this is something to keep track of. So whenever this items array changes here, we actually rerun this expression here. So this lists equals gets rerun whenever items change, and then we filter them based on if it's completed or not. So whenever I check this completed checkbox here, then actually Svelte knows about that and tells this component that, hey, the items already changed, and then we refilter it, and then we get a new list that we then iterate over here to show them in 2 different lists. So I guess we could add like some kind of margin top between them. So this is, okay, no, let's not do that. Then we get this uneven margin that I was talking about in one of the first episodes. So let's use our beloved flex. But now that we have Tailwind CSS, we don't have to sit here and come up with some boring class name for this. We can just use flex. So we can do something like flex gap 2, I think, and then we get kind of gap 2 is, I'm not really sure how many pixels that is, but it should be around 15 pixels, I think. So I guess we can convert this now to Tailwind CSS. So this we actually want to be flex gap 2 and then flex call. So flex call is for setting the direction here to being column. That did not seem to work. So that should of course also be flex call here. So flex call, there we go. So I guess for this we want to have a bigger gap so that we can actually tell that there is some kind of difference here. So gap 8, I guess. That looks pretty good, I guess. So whenever we check this checkbox here, we can see that it's now added down. Well, okay, so maybe we actually want to change the order of this. Like, so the items that we haven't actually not completed yet and that we want to focus on. Then if we are feeling proud about ourselves, then we can look down here and see all of the tasks that we have completed. So whenever we complete something now, it's being added to that list there. Isn't that amazing? So now we got that separation a bit here. I feel like that was pretty straightforward, actually. So like I said, this could actually become a performance concern in the future. But I feel like this was kind of a nice trick here to separate these 2 lists and show you guys that, you know, this is more of what you would want from a to-do application where I can actually focus on what's important. So this was kind of a shorter episode. I hope you guys liked it. Feel free to subscribe if you want to be part of this community that I'm building, and feel free to like or dislike the video if you liked or didn't like the video. So comment down below if you have any thoughts or you want to share your project with me. I would love to see it. So I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace out.